WBUZ.com/deals while supplies last.
Your sports live here. WBUZ HD3 Laverne. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network. ESPN 94.9. The Fan.
Years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee. It's the George Plaster Show, featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famers Kelly Holcomb and young gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in. It is a beautiful Thursday in Nashville, Tennessee, with the temperature at this moment at 75 degrees in the SEC tournament over at Bridgestone Arena. Life is pretty good. Welcome to March Madness. Billy, you and I were down there for at least part of the Arkansas-Ole Miss game, which went right to the wire. What a terrific contest.
That was unbelievable. Arkansas got sent to the free throw line with 7 seconds left, tied at 80. They missed both. And then Ole Miss's Sean Padula goes down and hits a three with about 1 second left, and that won it for the Rebs. It's
funny because at halftime, I'm on the front row down on press row, and a ball, while they're warming up for the second half, comes over to me, and I toss it to Sean Padula, and I noticed he did not hit one shot from that point on in his warm-ups in the second half. He was 0 for his first 6 3-point field goals. So let's bring Kelly Holcomb in from Murfreesboro. Kelly, I guess this is a shameless way of taking credit.
That was a good game, man. You got to make your free throws at the end. They got the wrong person fouled. That I guess it's the Brazil kid or whatever for Arkansas. He's like a 56% free throw shooter and missed both of them. You got to make, even if they had to take it out, at least you can defend. But when you miss it, I mean, everything is. And they didn't have any more timeouts because the Davis kid made a really good play and called a timeout. But if that's what you're in store for in the SEC championship in these next couple of days, man, that's going to be fun.
I give Arkansas a lot of credit. They were down like 18 or 19 in the first half, playing with essentially a 7-man rotation. Somehow they cut it to 8 before halftime. Yeah. And then right about the time I had to leave to come over here to the Ford Ice Center, they started their rally, and it turned out to be a heck of a game.
I think they're a tournament team.
Arkansas, I think they are.
But they passed the eye test, too. I mean, you can't look at that team right now and say they're not a tournament team. And Ole Miss obviously is.
Look, there's no doubt that Arkansas has the raw athletic ability. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. If you're looking for John Calipari to improve them by way of his coaching, he's a Hall of Fame recruiter. He's a Hall of Fame motivator. He's a mid-level coach, X's and O's. It's just that simple.
I don't know if we talked about this. I think we had the echo issues the first 20 minutes of yesterday's show. But
Echo.
Yeah. But yesterday, Arkansas is up by 3 with, 3-4 seconds left. And Cal tells his player to miss the free throw so it bounces off the rim and they have a longer shot. And we're like, what are you talking about? And today people were joking about he probably told Brazil to miss both when it's tied at 80. But you never know what you're getting from.
His explanation yesterday of that sequence is one of the dumbest things I've heard in a while.
Tell me what he said.
Well, it was something to the effect that he told him to miss it. If he makes it, the game's over.
4-point game. Yeah, the game's over.
Yeah. Cal.
I wonder
what his coaches think sometimes when he says something like that. Are they
like his players?
What are we doing?
I told George yesterday, like his players have got to look at him every now and then and be like, what is he doing? Like, what is he talking about?
By the way, the Blue Mist is in town today. The upper decks for the first session were very full. The end zones, not so much so, but there were a lot of Kentucky people who it's obvious have those end zone seats. The early session, you could get a ticket for as low as $20. Tonight, more like 85 to 100 because the Blue Mist is in town.
They get up there tonight.
Yeah, but it just means more, and that makes it feel good when, you know, you take money out of your pocket. You can repeat, it just means more.
By the way, the Wi-Fi name in there for media to connect is it just means more.
Well, that may explain why I wasn't getting anywhere.
Are you kidding me?
I wasn't using it.
But we've got SEC tournament going on right now. Texas and Texas A&M going at it. The winner of that game will play Tennessee tomorrow. We'll get you a score of that game. Before we do, though, I want to tell you about Kentucky and Gonzaga. That matchup coming up next season, December the 5th, here at Bridgestone Arena. Tickets are on sale now. You can log on to bridgestonearena.com and on the Ticketmaster app. All kinds of scores to get to. We do have some finals. As we talked about, Ole Miss takes down Arkansas 83-80. They will play Auburn tomorrow in the first game of the day. In the American, Wichita State takes down South Florida 73-68. It was St. Bonaventure over Duquesne 64-59 in the A-10. Akron over Bowling Green in the MAC 96-67. In the Big Ten, Oregon takes down Indiana 72-59. Good game here. BYU and Iowa State went down to the wire. The Cougars take down the Cyclones 96-92.
Stop there. If you want kind of a little dark horse, because they shoot the daylights out of it.
Yep.
BYU's one of those teams that can score.
They got shooters.
Baskets in the tournament come at a premium. Just remember BYU.
Also in the Big East, St. John's and Rick Pitino get a win, 78-57 over Butler. So they are moving on. But the big news of the day, Duke beats Georgia Tech 78-70, but Cooper Flagg was helped off the floor with an ankle injury. He came back out onto the floor in a wheelchair. After the game, John Shire said he sprained his ankle, but x-rays were negative. He's obviously doubtful to play. They wouldn't expect him to play the rest of the tournament. We'll see if he even gets to play in the big one.
So, Billy, here's the first thing we will ask Lee Fowler today as the chairman, the former chairman of the NCAA Men's Basketball Selection Committee. When the committee knows that there is a significant injury to the stud player, how do they treat that?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a big one.
This is
we saw what happened we saw what happened in football a couple of years ago when Travis Jordan went down with the FSU Seminoles, and they took them out because he was a key player.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting to see what they do with Duke, but they do get the win over the Yellow Jackets. Also in the A-10, St. Louis takes down Davidson 83-75. Toledo over Ohio 90-85 in the MAC tournament. We've got some games going on right now. We'll start in the Big Ten. Wisconsin all over Northwestern 50-38 in the second half of that one, a day after Coach Collins complained that there was no AC in Northwestern's hotel yesterday in the Big Ten. I don't know if you saw that, but
no, I didn't.
Yeah. That he said something to the effect, this is how we always get treated, as at Northwestern. So they're struggling against Wisconsin right now. Xavier leads Marquette right now, 66-65. Good one there in the second half of that one. Another good one in Charlotte. North Carolina leads Wake Forest 45-42, 13 minutes left in that one. The Tar Heels absolutely have to have that one and have to have a few more in this ACC tournament if they want to have a chance at the big one. New Mexico leads San Jose State at the half 32-23. FAU leads Charlotte 29-27 at the half of that one. Also at halftime, Houston leads Colorado 38-33 in the Big 12. And right now down at Bridgestone, Texas A&M leads Texas 12-9, 13 minutes left until the half there.
We will try to get you a report on that one when it goes to halftime. Okay, update time.
Other notes brought to you by Lori Burnett Leland. You can find her online, Mortgage Lady USA BargatzeLeeFowler.com or give her a call, 615-969-4350. Some baseball news. The Tampa Bay Rays will not proceed with the development of a $1.3 billion stadium in St. Petersburg. They're citing hurricanes and costly delays for this. Under their contract, the Rays would play 3 more years at Tropicana Field after the damage is repaired.
Back at the station, my buddy Frank from Smyrna, who is down there, is going to call us right around 3:40 with a little report, because what does this mean?
Yeah.
I don't know what it means, but it might mean something when it comes to this city. It could.
We'll keep an eye out. In the NFL, the Steelers agreed to a 2-year deal with former Titans backup Mason Rudolph. So Rudolph back in Pittsburgh as they await a decision from Aaron Rodgers. The Steelers lost, or will be losing, both of their quarterbacks from last year. Justin Fields signed with the Jets. Russell Wilson scheduled to visit with the Browns and the Giants in the next couple of days. So Mason going back to Pittsburgh. Also, I'm sure we'll get to this with Terry, but the Titans are reportedly signing veteran quarterback Brandon Allen. He's been in and out of the league since 2016, has made just 10 starts since 2019. He played under Brian Callahan for a few years in Cincinnati, so I'm sure we'll learn more about that.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Why?
Why sign Brandon Allen?
Yeah.
That's a good question. Maybe Terry has.
Kelly, do you have a good answer?
What do you have against Brandon Allen?
Nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't have a good answer, George. I can't tell you. I'm not in the room. I'm not in the evaluation process. Obviously, somebody liked him.
Okay, let me ask you this. When you heard that, did you say to yourself, why?
No, I said, who is he?
Even worse.
Nice. And what is it you do for a living?
Did Brandon, did he play at Texas A&M?
Didn't he play at Arkansas?
Or that was Kyle Allen.
It's Arkansas.
It's
Arkansas, I think.
Yeah, he did play at Arkansas.
He knows how to call the Hogs.
Sure does. And not much calling the Hogs earlier today. Also, missed this yesterday, but Mac Jones agreed to a deal with the 49ers for 2 years, worth $7 million. He played in 10 games last year for the Jags. So the Niners, are they in on Purdy, you wonder? Is Purdy still their guy?
Oh, yeah.
I don't think Purdy's their guy. He's taking them to the Super Bowl and an NFC Championship game.
Yeah,
Terry, he's got to have people around. I mean, but you can't have if you're a quarterback in the National Football League and all your starting guys around you that make plays for you. What are you supposed to do, Billy? You know what I'm saying?
I'm just saying. He didn't have a great year.
He lost Kittle. He lost Deebo Samuel. He lost all those guys. Like
you were one of his skill positions.
It's true. You can't get off the jam either, Billy. I promise.
Little Billy goes wide to the right. Backs her in the eye.
Oh, no, he's still on the line of scrimmage, and the play has already happened.
I did forget to mention earlier, bracketology, the latest bracketology from Joe Lunardi is out. Vanderbilt in the last 4 buys column, so they are back on the bubble. Lunardi has them playing 7-seed St. Mary's. So Commodores as a 10 seed right now. Oklahoma also in last 4 buys. Texas first team out.
All of which begs the question, do you know the way to Dayton? That might be where they're headed.
Very well could be.
Could be. However, the good news, if you look at what Billy has put up there, if you're listening to this on radio, this will do you no good. But under last 4 buys, it's Oklahoma, then Vandy, which means that there are 6 teams that Lunardi at the moment has in the tournament who are below Vandy. So those 6 are Utah State, West Virginia, San Diego State, Xavier, Indiana, and North Carolina, which has no good wins.
Yeah, they are 1-something in quad 1. 1-11 in
if
quad. If
their name was Boise, out.
Wouldn't even be thinking about it. Gone.
Yeah.
2-2 pitch, gone.
Also, not much of an update on Lipscomb. They're still slated to go to Seattle, according to Joe Lenardi, as a 13 seed playing 4-seeded Purdue.
Pay no attention to that part of it. By the way, and Lee will probably chafe at this, over the years, the NCAA has taken certain teams and put them in certain regionals if they're having ticket selling issues.
No.
Oh, they've done that in the past. Now, it may have been before Lee, but I'm telling you, that kind of stuff used to go on. I'll also tell you one other little story. Western Kentucky bought a bunch of tickets to a regional here years ago that they ended up not needing to use. Louisville, which ended up in this regional, needed those tickets. And Western Kentucky said to Louisville, we'll sell you the tickets under one condition. Kelly, what was that condition?
You don't up the price on us.
That you play a game against us in Diddle Arena. That's some creative marketing right there.
There you go.
In our never-ending pursuit of everything that is important in sports in this city, Terry McCormick, Titan Insider, Main Street Media, will join us after the break. We'll find out his thoughts about the Titans in free agency. Then around 3:40, give or take a minute or two, we'll go to Tampa and find out what this latest news might mean down there. The Rays have told the city to take their plan and shove it. This is 94.9, The Fan.
New year, new priorities. Family and safety come first. If a car or truck accident disrupts your life, Bart Durham Injury Law is here to help. We're local, experienced, and ready to fight for you. Call 615-242-9000. Happy 2025 from Bart Durham Injury Law.
Attention college basketball fans. Kentucky and Gonzaga will square off Friday night, December the 5th at Bridgestone Arena, and you won't want to miss it. Tickets are on sale to the public at this very moment at BridgestoneArena.com and on the Ticketmaster app. It's two of the best programs in all of college basketball, and they're playing right in the heart of downtown Nashville. Act now. Tickets will be gone shortly, so you better act accordingly. It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank and Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com. Family, look no further than Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. The bowling is a blast. The people around it make it even better. And you know what? They've got a staff that will make sure you have a good time. So don't wait. Go have some bowling fun at Strike and Spare, the official home of the 4th annual Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night.
The game is on the road as the SEC tournament continues in Nashville. Join us live from the pub in the Gulch on Friday, March 14th from 9 to 6 p.m. Come watch some of the games with all of us. Your sports live here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville Sports Network.
It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
All week with the SEC tournament in town, you've got NFL free agency going on, which is very important to the Titans, who, as you know, have the number 1 pick in the draft. We asked Terry McCormick, Main Street Media, and TitanInsider.com to join us. By the way, feel bad about Garrett Cole. I'm sorry to hear it.
Yeah, it kind of sucks. Not a great way to start the season. You know, it's making the addition of Max Fried from your team a little bit more important to him because he's probably going to be the only starter.
No kidding. So how do you grade what the Titans have done so far?
I'd give it a solid C+, B-. I mean, there's not a lot of star power in what they've done, but I do think they've done what they can to try and fix their biggest problem, which was the offensive line. And as Kelly will tell you, you can't do anything if you don't have big boys in the trenches who can protect the quarterback and open up holes in the run game. That's something they've not had a lot of the last couple of years.
Terry, how much of this has been done with who they've gone after in the offensive line to move J.C. Latham to the other side?
Well, what I was told was, you know, this guy was probably one of the better tackles that was on the market and available, even though he's probably average. But it allows them to have competency at both tackle spots. And J.C. Latham, being a natural right tackle, can shift over there without any problems. And this guy can fill in on the left side and they hope be the answer for the next couple of years.
You know, I'm going to ask this question, even though I think I know the answer. Do you have any reason to think the Titans have made any run at a quarterback?
Well, they signed Brandon Allen. That is a
yeah, you know where I'm going, though. I'm talking the Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones.
I don't think they put a lot into that. I don't think that outside of Darnold, and they weren't really all in on him when Cousins and Carr didn't become available on this free agent market, and they knew. And when the Rams decided to keep Matthew Stafford, basically the veteran quarterback market dried up. So, rather than take a chance with Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson, who they didn't really have any interest in either one, or go with a reclamation project like Mac Jones or Daniel Jones. They shunned those because they feel like they already have a reclamation project on the roster in trying to fix Will Levis. And so now I think in a lot of ways they are seriously pivoting toward the possibility of taking Cam Ward at number 1 overall. I think they really like the kid. I think He made a solid impression on them last week when he came in for his 30 visit. I'm not saying it's etched in stone, but that seems to be the way this is trending. The only other thing that could be a possibility for them is this, that they would use this hype to build up Cam Ward, knowing that the New York Giants and to a lesser degree, the Cleveland Browns are desperate for a quarterback, so that they can get them to come off of a first-round pick in 2026, along with being, with the, probably a third-round pick thrown in there that the Titans don't have for this year, and it'll swap of first-round picks, that sort of thing. So they could do that and then select Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, and then just kind of take a quarterback a little later on, or, add another guy at some point. But right now, I think your quarterback room for this team has a real good chance of being Will Levis, Brandon Allen, and Cam Ward.
Okay,
Wow.
Let's go a little south of here. This will be the first time, Terry, that I've asked you anything in Atlanta that wasn't about the Braves. Kirk Cousins, within the last week, has told Arthur Blank that he's got no interest in what it is the Falcons have acted like they want to do, which is to make him Michael Penix's backup. For a moment, I'm going to assume that the Falcons are going to release him or do something that validates that request. If and when he's available, are the Titans interested?
I think they probably would poke around at it. I think they would probably owe it to themselves to do so. Now, because if they're not sold on Will Levis, and I don't think they are, then if you draft Cam Ward, then it makes a lot of sense, if he's not ready to start right away, that you would have a guy like Kirk Cousins who could go out there and compete, maybe win you some games and play for most of a year like he did with the Falcons this last year. Now, the question of that being, would the Titans be attracted to Kirk Cousins? Because with the shortage of quarterbacks going on, that Cleveland, the Giants, maybe even the Vikings, if they're not completely sold that J.J. McCarthy's ready to go, would have a reunion with Cousins. So he will have some suitors out there if he gets released. And the Titans may get in on that, but right now they sure are showing signs that they're interested in Ward.
Okay, let me take this one step further. There's been a belief around the league that if and when Cousins gets his walking papers in Atlanta, Cleveland will be all over him. Stefanski, Kirk Cousins reunion. But now they've brought in Russell Wilson, or about to, for a visit. So all this stuff's kind of up in the air, and you don't know what to think at this point.
Yeah, and that's why, at this time of the year, until all the dominoes have fallen and everybody's got a landing spot, you don't really know which way teams are going to go. You can assume this or assume that. But, if Cousins gets to the market, he'd probably like to get there while Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson are still unsettled. He doesn't want them to get a landing spot because that takes two possibilities off the board for him. So to me, if I'm Cousins, I'm asking for my release immediately and hoping that the Falcons grant that. Now, what makes Cousins attractive in this deal is the same thing that made Russell Wilson attractive last year. The Falcons will be on the hook for nearly all of his salary because it was a guaranteed deal. So he can go sign for a veteran minimum like Russell Wilson did last year with the Steelers, and somebody will have themselves a starting quarterback for the league minimum while the Falcons are on the hook for the rest of it.
Okay, last thing from me, and then I'll turn it to Terry. Much has been made about trying to read the tea leaves of whether Chad Brinker is running the show or Mike Borgonzi is running the show. And it appears that the early lead seems to be that it's Brinker more than Borgonzi. Terry, why would he have taken this job to be the GM but not be the decision maker?
Well, I think he is the guy who's doing the the grunt work, so to speak. He's the guy who's doing the talking to this agent about this guy, talking to that agent about that guy, and trying to construct this roster. Brinker is the guy that's kind of, I guess, at the top, kind of looking down on it and just, there to fact check, so to speak, to make sure that, they're all on the same page is kind of the way I read it.
Okay, but what's going on. Schefter came out with the tweet of, credit to Chad Brinker for the signing of the guy from Denver and all that kind of stuff, which has had everybody going, isn't that special?
Yeah, it's semantics because, everybody scratches everybody else's back in the league, especially behind the scenes on these deals, because used to, everybody knew that when Schefter and Rappaport and all these guys get these deals, everybody knew that the agents are leaking it out to these guys. And now they just come right out and say it. It's like, Kelly Holcomb signs 5-year deal with the Cleveland Browns negotiated by his agent, Drew Rosenhaus or whatever, that sort of thing. That now they just put it right in the tweet and it's just right there out in the open. They're not even hiding it anymore. It's sort of like NIL money. They're not hiding it anymore. $100 handshakes have always gone on. They're just not hiding it anymore now that it's legal.
It's called legalized cheating, Kelly.
Yes.
Good. Seriously, it's called legalized cheating. So, Terry, I didn't realize my name was Terry, but Terry, happy to meet you, Terry. You know what I'm saying?
Did I call you Terry?
Yes, you did.
Terry, I want to apologize to you for that.
He had an elderly moment right then. He couldn't remember. My bad. I'm sorry, George, to bring that up. But what made them fall in love with Cam Ward? I mean, have you heard any? I know that you've talked about it. Like, it's funny because all this stuff, we all make these accusations and all these prognostications about where this guy may go and this guy may go, and then it's all kind of falling away. And now it seems like, wow, what are we doing? So you say that they're not interested in Aaron Rodgers. They weren't interested in Daniel Jones, which I understand that. I get it. But, like, I'm with you now. I think that it could be. But what made them fall in love with Cam Ward? Was it his workout? Was his individual stuff? What was it?
I think it was just how he presented himself first at the combine and then at the 30 visit. I think they, kind of became enamored with him a little bit as far as his presence, his personality, his football knowledge, I think, impressed them. So, I think there were a number of things. You remember Brian Callahan said, I think it may have been at the Senior Bowl or somewhere. He's looking, or maybe it was in an interview. He said, we're looking for somebody that has the right nervous system, somebody who from the neck up knows what's going on at the position. And it sounds like that they believe Cam Ward might be that guy.
So let me ask you this. This is a hypothetical, obviously, but, I heard y'all, we were talking about, Kirk Cousins. And what if Kirk Cousins, if it happens and he is released and then the Titans go after him, they do get him, and then they end up drafting Cam Ward, and now they've got Brandon Allen, which was with, Callahan in Cincinnati. Where does that leave Will Levis? I mean, is he going to stay in there? Like, where does that – I know there's going to be competition. Everybody says there's competition, but that's if that does happen, which I don't think, sometimes nothing ever happens like you think it's going to happen. But what if that hypothetical question comes about where they do sign Kirk Cousins and then they do draft Cam Ward? Where does that leave Will Levis?
Yeah, then I think that probably leaves him on the outside looking in. As it stands right now, unless he just wants to be out of here, I think Will Levis will be on this roster next year. I think he will be probably the number 2 quarterback because a guy like Brandon Allen, who's playing probably for the league minimum, he's a guy who's a little like Trevor Siemian was last year. You could cut him and put him on the practice squad and go about your business if Levis shows you enough that he can, and he's willing to accept the number 2 role. And here's the other part of this too, Kelly. There's nothing to say that the Titans couldn't start the year with Will Levis at quarterback if they feel like Cam Ward is not ready and they don't want to throw him to the wolves right away. Wouldn't be the first time that a first-round pick has sat and learned for a little bit, especially during the time where maybe they're trying to still get the offensive line to gel and get the pieces working. Now, the problem that I see with that is this. the first time Will Levis has a 2 interception game, everybody in the stadium is going to be calling for Cam Ward to put his helmet on and go into it. And that's going to be an ongoing thing. The only way Will Levis would ever quiet that down is just to go out and play so well that you can't take him out of the lineup. And if that happens, then you've got the opposite problems. Like, okay, we've gone from having nobody we can count on to having 2 guys that we're high on, which is certainly better, but it's not ideal, because ideally if you draft Cam Ward, you want to put all your eggs in his basket sooner or later.
That's correct. I just remember this, and I brought this up before, but I remember Drew Brees being in San Diego, and they end up drafting Phillip Rivers because Drew Brees, his first couple of years, didn't play great. And then Drew Brees, I don't know what happened, but he came back, and they couldn't get Phillip Rivers on the field because Drew was just playing good, and you couldn't take him off the field, and they end up trading him to the Saints. But, things like that happen. I just it's interesting, all this stuff that's going around and all this. I think you're probably right. I think the quarterback room is going to be that guy and Will Levis and Brandon Allen, which I wouldn't have thought that 3 weeks ago.
No, I wouldn't have either. I think that ideally, before they had their meeting with Cam Ward, I think they probably were intent on trading the pick. I think that's still an option. If somebody overwhelms them, I think that is still an option. That's not dead, but I don't think it's as likely as it was a couple of weeks ago, like you said, Kelly.
So they've gone out and they've got them some offensive linemen, which I'm sure they feel good about. Do they feel, obviously they wouldn't have signed them if they don't feel good about it, but I think you said that this was an offensive line draft that's pretty heavy. I mean, they've got some good players in there. So do you still think that they'll draft? Because you can't have enough offensive linemen. That's when I was in Cleveland. I mean, our head coach he'd rather draft defensive linemen than offensive linemen. And defensive linemen are a dime a dozen. But offensive linemen, when you get a good one, you got to go take him. And I'm sure they're thinking that in the draft. Am I right, Terry?
Kelly, I think they are absolutely thinking that. And here's what I think they're going to try and do, because they know they have a good offensive line coach in Bill Callahan. You remember when Mike Munchak was the offensive line coach here and then later the head coach. One of the things that they would always seem to do, they would, they could bring in a guy like Kevin Mawai and get a couple of years out of him, or Roger Saffold, get a couple of years out of him. That's a little later on. Steve Hutchinson. But knowing that, guys like Zeitler probably only have a year or two left in them, you go and you draft a guy in the 4th, 5th, 6th round, and you let him sit there and you let him learn. He's a backup. He hardly ever gets in except maybe on field goal units and things like that when you have to have extra offensive linemen on the field. But then in year 2, after he's learned a little bit, maybe played a few snaps here and there when somebody was injured and needed to fill in, then you get that guy ready. And if he's really smart and learns under a guy like Bill Callahan and from the veterans who are there on that offensive line, then maybe you've got yourself a starter. Maybe you've got a guy who develops like a David Stewart did, or like a Benji Olsen did here way back in the day.
So my last one. So they signed Van Jefferson. What else do they need to do? Nick Westbrook-Akine, which I liked. I thought he was a playmaker. He got, he goes to Miami. So Van Jefferson, obviously a Ravenwood guy. His dad coached there. I said yesterday, am I old because I played against his dad a long time ago? And I guess that does kind of date me. But they signed him. But what do you think else they're going to do in the wide receiver room?
I think they have to add in free agency, and probably have to add one, and add 1 or 2 in the draft. You just don't have numbers there. The other guys that they have on this roster in the receiver room are guys who didn't make much of an impact. Guys like Bryce Oliver, Jaquan Jackson, Colton Dow, who was injured last year. You can't count on Traylon Burks because I don't think he's going to be ready to start training camp coming off that ACL injury. You don't know when you'll get him. He's probably a pup candidate, in my opinion. So it's a room that's really thin and needs, 1, some experience, and 2, some playmakers. And you're probably going to have to go get a guy or 2 in free agency still, and you're probably going to have to go get a guy or 2 in the draft. Hopefully in the draft, if you go there, you get somebody that's got some sizzle to them that you can have and develop and keep around for a long time.
Cooper Kupp.
Well,
Cup.
Cooper Kupp, if he could stay healthy, would be a nice little addition. He could do for them what Adam Thielen has done for Bryce Young in Carolina. The problem is he hasn't been able to stay healthy, guys. He's missed games over the last 2 or 3 years. There's also the other thing, too. One, how much would it cost to get him? Two, does he want to play for a team on a rebuild when he could maybe go somewhere else and be on a Super Bowl contender?
Cooper Kupp.
That's true.
Go get
That's
him.
true.
Terry, thank you so much. Great report.
All right. Have a good one, guys.
Okay, after the break, in our never-ending effort to get you every last story that is important in this city, we will have a March Madness scoreboard update. We will go to Tampa to find out the latest about the Rays telling the city to take their proposal and shove it. And what does that mean for Nashville? Stick around. This could be pretty interesting. This is 94.9, The Fan.
As we step into the new year, there's nothing more important than family and safety. If a car wreck or big truck accident turns your world upside down, Bart Durham Injury Law is here to help. We're local, we're experienced, and we're ready to fight for what you deserve. Call us anytime at 615-242-9000. Really wishing you a safe and happy 2025 from Bart Durham Injury Law.
Attention college basketball fans. Kentucky and Gonzaga will square off Friday night, December the 5th at Bridgestone Arena, and you won't want to miss it. Tickets are on sale to the public at this very moment at BridgestoneArena.com and on the Ticketmaster app. It's two of the best programs in all of college basketball, and they're playing right in the heart of downtown Nashville. Act now. Tickets will be gone shortly, so you better act accordingly. This is my buddy Stan Harrison from Apple Collision Centers. Recently, you've been talking to me about companies that have a fleet of trucks and they're always in need of repairs.
That's right, George. We understand that nobody likes to deal with the auto body repair process. We try to simplify that at our 3 convenient locations. We work with all major insurance companies. We help to ease the stress of the auto body repair process. We're located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. If you need our services, please stop by and see us.
And how convenient that we have that in the background. Now, seriously, these are good folks. They do really good work. Give them a holler.
Where can you see a saber-toothed tiger rappel from the rafters? How about a catfish fly? The biggest stars in Music City. Not to mention hockey's hottest ticket.
The Predators win!
Only in Smashville. See your Nashville Predators all season long at Bridgestone Arena. Single game tickets are on sale now at NashvillePredators.com. Let's go, Preds!
If you are paying too much for your health insurance, you know what? You need to contact the folks at Pancoast Benefits. Pancoast works with businesses and individuals to tackle the high cost of health insurance. Whether you're a business owner, large or small, self-employed, between jobs, or over the age of 65 and in need of a Medicare plan, Pancoast can help. They make understanding your benefits less difficult and more personal. So check them out today, pancoastbenefits.com, or call them at 615-292-3400. JB's Poorhouse in Hermitage has one of the best sports bar setups around, and it'll play host to the George Plaster Show on Thursday, March the 20th. That's the first full day of March Madness. Large TVs, great hoops, terrific food, and friendly service. It's what JB's Poorhouse is all about. See you on March 20th for a day full of what I call adult spring break. The iconic stuff right there. at 3:44 on a busy Thursday afternoon in Nashville and in the college basketball world. Billy, what do you got?
Got another March Madness scoreboard update brought to you by Kentucky and Gonzaga next season, December 5th, right here in Nashville at Bridgestone Arena. Tickets are available at bridgestonearena.com and on the Ticketmaster app. All right. Right now, we've got lots of action going on. I want to get to the finals from earlier today first. Oregon takes down Indiana 72-59 in the Big Ten. BYU beats Iowa State 96-92 in the Big 12. St. John's over Butler 78-57 in the Big East. Duke takes down Georgia Tech 78-70, but not before Cooper Flagg goes down with an ankle sprain. We'll see what his status is over the next few weeks or so. Marquette takes down Xavier 89-87 in the Big East. Wisconsin over Northwestern 70-63 in the SEC. Texas leads Texas A&M at the half 33-27. And also right now, number 2 Houston leads Colorado 55-43 late in that one. Also a good one in Charlotte, North Carolina and Wake Forest going at it. The Tar Heels up by 1, 57-56 with 3.5 to play. The Tar Heels need it big time for their tournament chances.
Okay, it got out earlier today that the ownership of the Tampa Bay Rays has sort of said, we're not going forward with the proposal that the city has put together. Our friend Frank from Smyrna is down in that area. I asked him to call the show. He's on the line from the Tampa area. Frank, first of all, what's the reaction down there?
You know, I don't think, George, that anybody's real surprised. And I was at the Tampa Bay Rays game Monday in North Fort, Florida, against the Braves. Imagine that. But anyway, me being a Braves fan. Anyway, I talked to some of the fans, and they said that they absolutely believed at the time that they were not going forward with the stadium deal, and that there was legs to the story, that Sternberg's being pressured to sell the team. And what they think is going to happen and what I think is going to happen at this point. Okay, they're going to play, obviously, at the Yankees facility this year. And then they're back to the Trop next year, assuming everything goes well. There's in the contract they've got with the city, the news media here has highlighted that they still got another 3, I think maybe 4 years of the lease of Tropicana Field with the city. So to me, I think they're going to stay there, and that gives them time to either sell the team, get new owners, and figure out what they're going to do, or are they going to relocate? I don't believe relocation's imminent anytime soon from talking to people down here. But I did get an interesting comment from a guy. He says, he says, this is a chance for the fans in Tampa that have always said, I'm not driving across the bridge. If you're familiar with Tampa Bay, it's an area. It's a long way from Tampa over to St. Pete across the water there, and the traffic's terrible. Tropicana Field's not the best part of town. It's not the greatest place in the world, or was it? I'll say that. And now, now's their chance. The games are going to be in Tampa this year, albeit at the Yankees facility. I was informed that as of Monday, opening day next week or 2 weeks from now in Tampa, wasn't even sold out. So I don't know what's going to end up happening. It's just I don't think anybody's surprised. You could see this coming. I thought all along that they were going to walk. They're going to tell City the stuff, and I just. And Sternberg said in a release, and you might have seen it, George. The release is out there from the Rays. It basically said, during the hurricane, it's just unforeseeable items, so to speak, that have happened since then, and that it's just not prudent for them to move forward with this deal. So here we go. So who knows?
So he put out there today that the city of St. Petersburg advancing on plans to restore Tropicana Field in time for the 2026 season. You're down there, you drive by it. Is that realistic?
I can tell you this: when I drove by it a couple of weeks ago, they didn't look like. Well, granted, I could only sit outside, but they've done nothing as far as looking like they're anywhere near going to start repairing the roof. And you would think they've got to do that first before they can clean up the inside of the ballpark. I don't know if 2026 is realistic or not. He seemed to indicate that it was their hope that to be able to play there next year. Is what he seemed to indicate. Like I say, this story all just broke about midday today, and I'm interested to see what the local media tonight down here has to further say about it. But who knows? I mean, to say the least, it puts the future of the Tampa Bay Rays in flux. And I did tell the Rays fans in Northport, I said, well, if you relocate, I don't want to be the one to tell you this, but I'm from Nashville, and you see I'm a Braves fan, but Nashville is one of those cities, and they seem to be pretty convinced that baseball would end up staying in Tampa Bay. I'll say that. The fans I talked to were season ticket holders, and they seem to be convinced eventually something's going to happen, just not under what the current deal ever was. So
I've got every reason to believe that the city of Nashville made some sort of, hey, if you need help, here we are. And I'm guessing it would not be a bad idea for them to do it again for 2026, because I can't see this Yankee and Tampa love fest going on, especially if the Rays are any good and are battling the Yankees.
I would agree with that. I think the Yankees did them a favor for 1 year. That is a 1 year deal, and I don't think it's anything more than that from what I'm hearing. And I don't think really among some Tampa Bay Rays fans, it's gone over real well that they're playing in the Yankees facility. Okay, I get that, but where the heck else are they going to play down here? I mean, Raymond James Stadium's not an option, for football stadium across the street's not an option. I mean, they would have to go to Orlando, and it's just real dicey. And I do think, even though I told those fans, did not tell those fans that, rather, that Nashville is in play for next year, and I personally think that as well, George. Because I'll believe it when I see it. They're playing Tropicana Field a year from now. I'll believe it when I see it. That's just because it's wide open, exposed to the elements up there. The roof is, they've not put any kind of temporary roof on it to try to save what they got. I mean, you've got to be looking at a complete gut and rebuild on the inside. I would think.
Yeah, we're looking at pictures of it.
What's involved in the repairs? They're not talking about that. You've not heard anything about that down here. So
those of our listeners who are watching on the podcast, you can see what the inside of Tropicana Field looks like. It looks like a war zone. Frank, do this for me. While you're still down there, as conditions warrant, if you get new info, let me know it. We'll bring you back up to talk about it.
I sure will. Yeah. What's the old moniker? They used to say, stay tuned for further developments or breaking news as it happens.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We'll even get you a breaking news sounder.
That sounds great. I don't know what that sounder could be. I'll get back to you on that. But anyway, thanks for having me on. I knew you would want to know what the stories I was hearing, George. I knew you'd appreciate that. So thanks for letting me come on and blab a while. And, George, can I give a non-related baseball shout-out to Tullahoma High School for making the boys' state basketball tournament next week? First time ever. First time ever Tullahoma has done that. I appreciate you letting me do that. I know I didn't tell you I was going to do that, so I appreciate you letting me say that. We have, as Kelly would know, we finally broke through and got a state title in football several years ago. We won the state in baseball last year, which we've done that a few times, but close. So
new stuff.
Wishing those guys well. And the Coffee County girls, they're in the state tournament. So, good luck. My rivals across the Coffee County, they're in Manchester.
Yeah, but Frank, the only bad thing about that is they play number 1 Bradley Central in the first round, which is kind of crazy. I don't understand how the number 1 and number 2 team are matching up at the beginning of the tournament. It's unbelievable.
Wow. Kelly, I did not know that. I just knew they were in the tournament and played today. I hadn't had a chance to look at the bracket. I was going to do that later. Wow. Kelly, I don't understand that either. That makes zero sense to me, but I don't care what I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
Frank, I got to run.
I appreciate it, guys. You guys take care. Always good to listen to you guys from down here in Florida as I'm doing right now. And we'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Thank you. Busy day on the show. A lot to cover. After the break, stat of the day. We're on a 1-game winning streak, Kelly, on stat of the day.
Absolutely.
We'll go for number 2 shortly. And then the college basketball insiders, Ron Bargatze and Lee Fowler, and the question, what does Cooper Flagg's injury do to Duke's seeding? Does it change it at all if that injury is significant? This is 94.9, The Fan.
Hey everybody, Chip Walters here from the Blue Raider Network. This week, Middle Tennessee basketball in Huntsville, Alabama for the Conference USA Basketball Championships. It all gets underway Thursday night at 8 o'clock. We'll have the pregame show at 7:30 as the Blue Raiders get set to take on the Bulldogs of Louisiana Tech.
93.3 FM. Totally hits. Totally Nashville.
It's Family Leisure's Factory Direct Sale. Truckloads of new model merchandise from all their factories arriving daily.
Okay.
Spas from Artesia and Catalina and American Select Spas as low as $29.99. All their new patio furniture styles, Hanneman, Tropitone, and Woodard are on sale.
That's interesting.
Family Leisure has factory direct pricing on pulls. 24-foot pulls starting as low as $29.99 installed.
Grills, smokers, and grill islands are on sale too.
That's right. That's Family Leisure's Factory Direct Sale going on now.
Both locations, Antioch and Franklin.
With no credit check and payments as low as $20 a week, why wait to upgrade your home? At Electronic Express, get everything you need, from premium appliances and TVs to gaming systems and more. Whether it's building your dream home theater or updating your kitchen, we make it affordable and easy. With over 40 years in business, trust us for the best selection, service, and guaranteed low prices. Shop online or at any of our 22 locations across Tennessee and Alabama. Electronic Express, for every moment of your day.
Evan, Canty, and Michelle are unsportsmanlike.
Make no mistake about it. This is a desperation move. When you pay Daniel Jones $14 million on a one-year proposition, you are desperate. And to be in this position 3 years after you use a top 5 pick on a quarterback is an indictment on the job that you've done. Chris Ballard been there 8 years, only been to the playoffs twice. What are we doing?
Evan, Canty, and Michelle are unsportsmanlike.
How is this Dallas Cowboys squad going to be better year over year? How are they going to improve from what we saw on the field in 2024 to 2025? That is the million-dollar question.
Is it, though? Because I think we know the answer to it. They won't. They won't improve. I cannot for the life of me understand what Dallas is doing.
Unsportsmanlike. Weekday mornings starting at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN2. Earlier on Clinton and Friends.
Jokic is a marvel, the likes of which we've never seen. Sort of I don't want to say non-traditional basketball player, because that adds all sorts of sort of weird biases in terms of various styles of play. But his whole entire game is something like nothing we've ever seen. He's crazy to watch, and he doesn't even really care. That's also like the best part about it.
Clinton and Friends, weekdays from 10 to noon Eastern on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app. This is Joe and Q.
The problem with Niners fans is that they think they're in a real-world rivalry with the Eagles because they won that one regular season game that for some reason this once proud franchise that measured themselves by Super Bowls now measures themselves by regular season wins. The Eagles are handling their business, winning Super Bowls, something the Niners no longer do.
Joe and Q, weekdays from noon to 3 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app.
It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Your sports live here. WBUZ HD3 Laverne. All around the world on the Game Nashville app. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network, ESPN 94.9, The Fan.
College Basketball Insiders, Ron Bargatze and Lee Fowler coming up. But first, stat of the day brought to you by Apple Collision Centers. You can find them in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin, or give them a call, 615-754-9800, or log on to applecollisioncenters.com. All right, here we go. We've got another basketball stat of the day. Georgia is probably going to March Madness for the first time in a while. Who was the last coach, or who was the coach the last time the Georgia Bulldogs made the NCAA tournament?
So, Kelly, my first thought in here is that there was a year that Mark Fox got him there, although I can't swear to that. It's either Mark Fox or Dennis Felton. Felton got him there the year the tornado struck downtown Atlanta in 2008, when they made a move over to Georgia Tech and play with a very limited number of fans. God, I was there. You talk about scary. Whew. That's a real 30 for 30 right there. You got any
on fire? No, you're on fire. I do not. I'm sitting here thinking myself, and you're on fire. So I got to go with one of your guys.
Do you have a final answer?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Dennis Felton. Mark Fox. Okay. Mark Fox
going
is
to
now
go with Mark Fox.
Yeah, Mark Fox is now an assistant
at Kentucky.
Under
Mark Pope played for Mark Fox, right? I'm trying to remember the connection there.
Say that Mark Pope.
Mark Fox and Mark Pope have a connection somehow. I could be totally wrong there.
Yeah.
Okay.
You've been totally wrong before.
Mark Fox gave Mark Pope his first coaching job, is what I'm saying.
Okay. By the way, Bridgestone Arena may have to deal with some pretty severe weather on Saturday.
Yeah. It could be some tornado action potentially.
Check in the Weather Channel there, Kelly.
I know, man. I know you'll go home and you'll do that, George. I know tomorrow's forecast will be a lively one, and you'll have everybody up to date on what's going to happen. When they start talking about tornadic activity,
Let's hope
I hate that for everybody. Yeah.
Okay, Billy, before we bring the basketball insiders in, let's get the very latest on the Cooper Flagg injury during the Duke-Georgia Tech game. It is significant, and it will lead us to the first question we'll throw out at these guys.
Yeah, Flagg rolled his left ankle in the first half of Duke's win over Georgia Tech earlier today, hobbled off the court before he headed to the locker room. Then he returned to the bench for the second half in a wheelchair. Didn't play again. Shire said he was already dealing with swelling. He'd have to be really convinced we should even consider seeing if he can go. He said it's a real long shot to be able to play the rest of this tournament. X-rays showed no fracture, which obviously is a good sign, but the swelling is the bigger problem there. So that's the latest on Cooper Flagg.
Okay, so with that in mind, if you are just tuning in, Texas leads Texas A&M early in the second half, 34-32. Earlier today, Sean Padula, a three-pointer essentially at the buzzer, and Ole Miss beat Arkansas 83-80. Ole Miss will now take on Auburn. The winner of the Texas A&M game will take on the University of Tennessee. Let's say hello to the college basketball insiders. Let's start with Coach Ron Bargatze. Coach B, how are you?
Good afternoon.
What's going on?
Not much. Just looking for Kelly.
He's open. Here, big dog. What's up?
He's open. Get Kelly the ball.
No, don't get me the ball. I'll throw the ball to you.
Coach B, he has advocated violence. And as you know, our show will not tolerate that.
Well, the video you're about to watch could be harmful to your health. Turn your TV set off if you don't want to miss it.
Huh. Okay. We say hello to the former chairman of the NCAA Basketball Selection Committee, but far more important, my color analyst at Memphis State, Lee Fowler. What's going on?
Everything's great, George. What a great week to watch college basketball. And some of the teams don't have to win, but want to win. But that's a whole lot different than next week when you want to win, but you got to win if you're going to keep your shoes on. So it's interesting. You mentioned, I guess we're going to talk about the Cooper Flag situation. You know, we had Kenyon Martin got hurt for Cincinnati. They were number one in the country. And unfortunately for us, they lost the next game. And so, you know, we were looking at maybe they aren't the best team in the country. And we knew he wasn't coming back. And this kid looks like, if all the reports are correct, he probably will come back. And they play pretty good without him. I mean, they've got a lot of confidence and they're a good team and they've got guys that can step up and add to their program. So it'll be interesting, but you know, it may take them out of the number one spot. I don't think it'll take them off the number one line because of what they've done, especially with day-to-day that he may come back. I don't think we'll see him in the ACC tournament, but I think you'll see him in the NCAA tournament.
Lee, in the Kenyon Martin deal at Cincinnati, and I remember it because Cincinnati got assigned to the regional at Bridgestone Arena where they ultimately lost in one of the games. How spirited was the conversation? Was there honestly unanimous feeling or was it a real debate?
Well, it was a real debate because we knew he was just like this. He was the best player in the country, and all of a sudden you don't have him and you know he's not coming back. Well, you know the team's not going to be the same. And we got worn out by Cincinnati people about that, but we didn't. We knocked them down a couple of them, maybe the second row, I can't remember. But we had a little bit different situation than what you're going to see with them. And I would think next week it's going to be fun to watch the news out of Durham because they're going to say, "Oh, he's practicing full." I mean, they'll be sugarcoating whatever's going on to hopefully make everybody wonder whether he's going to play or not. Because when he's playing, of course, they're a great team. But this is a fun week, as you know. They showed up yesterday afternoon in Indianapolis and gave their picks 8 out of 10, get on every ballot they are in the tournament. So the work has begun. They're working on the at-large bids. They've got 2 or 3 guys on the committee working on seeding 13 through 16. They've got somebody working on the first 4, and then the second ones kind of are not quite as important because they kind of fall together by who wins and loses. So there's a lot of work been going on, and I'm sure there's a lot of conversation about Cooper Flag today.
Lee, real quick, how many teams are locked in right now? Like, what percentage of the bracket do you think is locked in right now? Like, for example, Ole Miss. We were talking to somebody, George and I, this morning. He told us he thinks Ole Miss is locked in right now, no matter what they do. Could be a good bit of the bracket that's locked in right now, no?
Well, there are 37 teams that they're going to at-large, put in as at-large. The most I ever saw was about 22 go in the first day, where the 10 people in the room all had 8. You have to have 8 votes before any discussion to go in before the discussion start about the rest of the at-large bids. So I would think with SEC being so good this year, you're probably going down 8 deep in the SEC. Maybe not, but it may be a little higher this year simply because. But I think the other leagues, I've been looking at them the last day or two. I mean, there's some teams that you would think 4 would get in, but when the SEC starts taking 9 or 10 or 11 into the tournament, if that happens, there are a lot of these conferences that are used to getting 3 and 4 are going to get 1 or 2. And so that's going to be very interesting as we follow through the weekend to see what's going on with these other upsets. I think Gonzaga's already, they've taken a spot away from somebody because they beat St. Mary's, and I think St. Mary's will be in. So that was a big upset for the people that want an at-large bid because Gonzaga's in, and I don't think they'll keep St. Mary's out with the year they had. So it'll be interesting, but it's fun, and it's definitely changes by the moment. And George, I know you're a big Carolina fan. They beat Wake by 9, so that just finished. So it's Duke and Carolina again tomorrow without Cooper Flagg. So you can imagine Ronnie going into that game today with Wake and Carolina playing after they knew that Cooper's out and one of the other really good players is out. They're thinking, man, if we can get this win right here, we can maybe upset Duke and have a chance to win the league. So there's a lot going on over there at the ACC.
Okay, so let me ask what may be a really dumb question. Let's say that Duke makes the decision, look, we're not risking Cooper Flagg in this tournament. Lee, does the committee request from Duke some honest answers about Cooper Flagg's condition?
Yeah, I mean, there'll be contact all week between the NCAA and them, and you hope it's honest. If it's not coming from a coach, it's probably honest. but you get it from the administrators, you're probably getting a straight answer. But they also want to give you the truth because it's going to have to do with seeding. Now, Duke's probably not going to fall off the first line, so they're going to be okay anyway. But as we know, as you do the S curve to, if you're number 1 seed in the whole tournament, you're playing number 8 is your second seed. So it definitely works for you. The higher you're up, the hopefully the lesser team, or at least by net or the committee's decisions, the less of that's going to be. It's going to help you in the long run in the regional weekend if people win, they're supposed to win.
Coach B, let's get you into the mix of this. Vandy has lost 3 in a row. I think I'm right that all 3 have been in double digits. They have not looked anywhere near as good as when they were knocking off people like Ole Miss and Texas A&M and Missouri back to back to back. Number one, do you think they're in? And secondly, if they are they in Dayton?
I think Dayton is a possibility. Lee would know more about that process, but I think they have probably put themselves in a position that Dayton is a possibility. But I also think that they've got some unbelievably strong wins on their resume, and everyone down to the last person is going to pretty much say the SEC is wild and crazy. So let's see what happens.
So, Coach B, when you look at them, is it a team that relaxed a little too much? They kept being told after they beat A&M, you're in. Is it a team that relaxed, or is it more that there are certain limitations, in particular with them being a smaller team, that they just can't overcome?
Well, they definitely, if you just throw out there the overall talent of the teams they'll be competing against, they're not going to show up too well in terms of comparing their talent. Their body of work is going to be and the conference they're in is going to be their top assets. But there's no question that there's a couple of inside players who are prone to be in foul trouble, and that they just cannot battle it in the paint without those 2 guys in the game.
Lee, when it first came up, you remember I used to make jokes about the NCAA was funding the Contras and the Nicaraguans and the Sandinistas, although I honestly didn't know who the Sandinistas were. The committee got charged with something new, putting people in Dayton. How do they decide who gets stuck there?
Well, it's the last at-large teams that come in are the 10 seeds. So you basically are still trying to play your way into the tournament with 68, but you actually have a chance to win and go on to a regional site or to first and second round site. When we first started, there were all 16 seeds and 15 seeds playing each other. and the conference is gripe like crazy, saying it's bad. You're showing that we're the worst, and da 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 da. Then they realized by winning, they got an extra share of about $300,000, and they said, "Whoa, don't take this away from us." But the 10th seeds are the ones that are the last people into the tournament, and the ones that will be discussed the most as far as the at-large that are getting in. So if Vandy's one of the last, if they're in Dayton, then they were one of the last ones to actually get into the tournament. Billy was showing that a second ago. Right now, it looks like North Carolina is the last one in at this point, but a lot can happen between now and, Indiana's on very thin ice, and North Carolina is, and Vandy probably would have been in worse shape if they quit using the last 10 games, which our buddy Sim Newton, rest his soul, was big on that, because he wanted the best teams and how they were playing at the end of the year. He wasn't quite as worried about a loss in the conference tournament as he was the last 10 games of the season. If you're 2-8, that's not somebody you want in the tournament. They're not playing very well. But if you're 8-10 and won some road games, so they quit using that, and I don't think that's good. But that may help Vandy, because the last 3 games would not have helped them. But definitely the body work in the SEC has. Their non-conference schedule may hurt them a little bit, but it's going to be interesting, and I'm sure they're nervous over there because they didn't end it like they wanted to end it.
Coach B, I want to go back to your early days in coaching in the 60s, in the 70s, and into the early 80s, when the NCAA tournament was not nearly what it is today. Was there a belief that selection committees back then would simply look at attendance figures of what regionals are selling tickets, and the ones that aren't, we're going to put somebody like Kentucky with an enormous fan base into a regional that's lacking ticket sales? Back then, did you think that was true?
Well, regardless what the company line is, there are those conversations that render those things more important. I think with what's happened with March Madness now, you don't have to go very far to have sold out arenas. And I just think that right now it's the body of work and the qualifying that you do that gets you there, rather than what kind of crowd they're going to bring.
Lee, I'm going to guess that you're going to tell me that in your years on the selection committee, that was never a factor.
Well, George, you'd be wrong. But anyway.
Really? Tell me about it.
All the committee, you got to realize this is a working group. This is a group that's putting future sites out, putting first and round sites for 2 or 3 years out. And so you're always aware of what the ticket sales are at each of these places. Now, you're right that we didn't put teams there that we automatically, when we went to the pod system, we tried to put teams close to home. So all that went out the window. But there was always a conversation about how many tickets have been sold at which sites. And like Ronnie said, most of the years, 1 or 2 maybe, most of them were sold out before the teams were announced. And then you got very little tickets for teams that get announced there. But things have changed. But no, you're right. It didn't have anything to do with where we put them, but we always were aware of how the sites were selling tickets.
Okay, some interesting stuff there to kick all this off. After the break, Kelly will get into it with the insiders. Billy, get ready with another March Madness scoreboard update. We got plenty to go on 94.9 The Fan.
New year, new priorities. Family and safety come first. If a car or truck accident disrupts your life, Bart Durham Injury Law is here to help. We're local, experienced, and ready to fight for you. Call 615-242-9000. Happy 2025 from Bart Durham Injury Law.
Attention college basketball fans. Kentucky and Gonzaga will square off Friday night, December the 5th at Bridgestone Arena, and you won't want to miss it. Tickets are on sale to the public at this very moment at bridgestonearena.com and on the Ticketmaster app. It's two of the best programs in all of college basketball, and they're playing right in the heart of downtown Nashville. Act now. Tickets will be gone shortly, so you better act accordingly. It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com. Years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
Hey, Preds fans, the Predators are back in action tomorrow night on the road in Anaheim. The game against the Ducks is tomorrow night at 9. Radio pregame coverage begins at 8.
Smashville lives here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Great info so far from the college basketball insiders. We'll get back to them with Kelly Holcomb in just a moment. But first, a riveting March Madness scoreboard update.
And it's brought to you by Kentucky and Gonzaga. Coming up next basketball season, December the 5th at Bridgestone Arena. Tickets on sale now. You can log on to bridgestonearena.com or the Ticketmaster app. Lee mentioned it earlier. North Carolina takes down Wake Forest 68-59 in the ACC tournament. They advance to play in a Cooper flagless Duke. tomorrow, which should be entertaining. Also, in the SEC earlier today, Ole Miss takes down Arkansas 83-80. They advance to play Auburn tomorrow. Also in the Big East, Marquette takes down Xavier 89-87 in that quarterfinal. Oregon over Indiana 72-59. Wisconsin over Northwestern in the Big Ten 70-63. BYU takes down Iowa State in the Big 12 96-92. St. John's over Butler 78-57 in the Big East. And as I mentioned, Duke takes down Georgia Tech 78-70. Right now at Bridgestone Arena, Texas leads Texas A&M 50-48. 11 minutes to play. Another good one down there at Bridgestone as Texas just took a 52-48 lead in that one. The winner of that will play Tennessee tomorrow. Also, some games going on right now. You've got one in the American. Florida Atlantic leads Charlotte 59-54 with a minute left in that one. Houston leading Colorado 75-66 with a minute left there in the Big 12.
Okay, 52-48 Texas, two teams that despise each other. Now make it 52-50 Texas about midway through the second half. Kelly, go to work. Say hello to the insiders. And again, nonviolent, peaceful conversation.
I'm good. I'm not going to say anything. I'd like to take it out on you, but I'm not going to do anything. So let me ask you guys this. You got Florida, you got Alabama, you got Auburn, you got Tennessee. They get a double bye. And for me, I've said it before that the conference tournaments are getting kind of watered down because everybody's goal is the NCAA tournament. And Auburn won obviously they won the season championship. But now, if you're a coach, do you like the double bye? Coach B?
Well, I think it's a huge advantage just because you can lay back. You get to see the other teams play late before you play them, which always you look at a couple of the teams that have really changed dynamics on their team by the role that certain players have there. I think that Texas, and I thought this all year, I think Texas is in the top 6 teams in the league in terms of raw talent. I mean, they've got some really nice athletes, and I think around the league, everyone maybe felt like they weren't quite as prepared as some of the other teams are. But that seems like they're prepared right now because Texas A&M is really good.
Lee?
I'm sorry, I'm listening to Ronnie so much I forgot the question. But
no, it's just about the double bye because I've said on this program a lot because I think the whole goal is, and you see what happened at Duke. I mean, and you can't help injuries. You really can't. But Cooper Flagg goes in, they're the number 1 team in the nation, and now he goes in and he's uncertain about playing. And who knows, because you're talking about coaches and everybody, there's some false things coming out, some false statements coming out. So you don't know if it's just an actual sprain or a high ankle sprain. And if it's a high ankle sprain, then sometimes nowadays they're doing surgery on those to get them to heal quicker. But my whole deal is, do you like the double bye? Yeah, if you're a head coach right now in the SEC, because those 4 teams have a double bye, but last year, Alabama and Tennessee got knocked out real early, but they were the ones that made it in the NCAA tournament. One went to the Elite Eight, and the other one went to the Final Four. So, do you like the double bye as a coach?
Yeah, I think the double bye was put in not so much in this conference, but in the smaller conferences. You're trying to keep last place team to beat your first place team. Then the league looks horrible, and you want your best teams to have the best chance to move on and get to the NCAA tournament. And talking about a bye, I was fortunate enough this week to talk to Rick Barnes for about 30 minutes. I was on the phone with Justin Gainey, who's interested and been contacted about the NC State job. And Rick kind of walked into the room, and he told him I was on the phone, so we got to talking. But he was definitely interested because he said, we're only going to practice once. This was Monday. He said, we're only going to practice once, and the rest of the days we're just going to shoot because we need to get our legs back. So he likes it as far as that's concerned. He thought that was really good for them. And and he feels like they have a really good chance to, if they shoot well in the right games, he thinks they have a chance to go to the Final Four. So you wouldn't expect him to say anything else. But, the double bye it really tried to get the leagues to get their best teams in the tournament. And they talked about you earned it. In the A-Sun, when I was in there, they gave byes because they wanted somebody not to be beat early, playing on the road. And so that's really a lot of the reasons of the double bye.
So both of you. So the last 2 years, we've had a team that is really dominant, Connecticut, and they could do it. They had bigs inside. They could shoot the three. They could shoot, the short jump shots. They had great point guards. They had guys that could handle the ball. Do y'all see a team, both of y'all? Do y'all see a team like that's in the field this year that's that dominant? Coach B?
Well, first of all, I think I'm picking Florida to win the tournament. They were the best team at the end of the year, I thought, and their inside game back where it needs to be. Their guard play has been phenomenal all year. So I think Florida's the best team to advance in the SEC in the next, in the Sweet Six, to get to the Sweet 16. I don't know. It depends on who gets hot. Texas, again, is a team that's very, very talented. We're finding out just how talented they are. With their record, you would think maybe they would be a patsy kind of team, but I don't know. I think that the top seeds are going to, because they'll get the double bye and because of how good they really are. And can you imagine Tennessee with Adu still with that team? How much he would have helped them. So and then you look back and you see Malik Dia, who is definitely a factor for Ole Miss, and don't think they would have won the game today had it not been for him.
He was really good today.
Lee, you see any dominant team like Connecticut has been the last 2 years?
Not as solid as they were, but I think Auburn, Florida, and to a little bit Alabama. If Alabama shoots it really well, they can beat anybody. But I think the better teams with Cooper Flag, Duke, Auburn, and Florida are probably the three most dominant teams that, on paper and what they've done this year, they're really going to be a tough out. And then the rest of the people, you have a little bit off shooting and you can't win the game, and that's the tough part.
So Lee, you're an ACC guy. Does North Carolina, if North Carolina wasn't a blue blood, like George said earlier in the program, if this was Boise State, nobody would be talking about Boise State making it. But North Carolina, what do they have to do? I mean, they got to upset Duke. Do they got to win the ACC tournament, which they are playing better? It seems like, once their coach got a general manager, they've been playing better because he kind of released all that stuff off of him and he could get back to coaching basketball is kind of what it seemed like. But what do they have to do, or are they going to be given the benefit of the doubt?
Well, I don't think they'll be given the benefit of the doubt. Now, the chair of the committee is their athletic director, they'll look at that. But my team at NC State, when I was the chair, almost didn't get in. I thought they should have been in on Friday or Saturday morning, and it was Sunday afternoon late before they got in the tournament. So I'm not sure being the chair is a good situation, may be bad for you. But I just really feel like that all these teams that are fighting, but North Carolina probably was hurt today by Cooper Flag getting hurt, because now if they beat Duke, yes, that'll probably get them in. But if you lose to Duke tomorrow, then that's going to hurt you, because everybody say, well, that's really not the team that won the ACC and that sort of thing. So it'll be interesting. It'll be a great game. It always is when the two of them play with emotion. And North Carolina's big guys are playing better. They were dreadful during the year, and all three of those guys now, Lubin included today, had a great game. They're starting to get some big man play, which is helping them.
How would Vandy like to have Lubin and Dia back on that team? I mean, they become a totally different team.
Yeah, my next question is kind of a hard question. I asked this to a guy the other day, but I want to know, and I'm not getting on my high horse again, but you guys got into coaching basketball because you love the game of basketball and you love being a difference in kids' lives. And it just got me to thinking the other day with all this transfer portal and guys leaving every year, do you think coaches have the same impact on kids' lives as they did when you guys were coaching or when I was growing up or when George was supposedly playing at the MAC shooting, sky hooks or wherever it is? Do y'all have the same impact? Do these guys today have the same impact on kids' lives, Coach B?
Are exactly what I feared would happen. That is, a lot of guys positioning themselves or asking for a bigger NIL package, or they're going to look around other places. And I just don't think you can quite have the impact unless you have the big, deep pockets that you can pay the players. I've had a talk with a couple of the women's coaches around the country the last few days, and I can tell you right now that most of them on the women's side are around the good teams, around $1 million in NIL money. I suspect that LSU is higher than that, and I know UConn has got maybe maybe $5 million to work with. So it's not a level playing field. It's more about how much money can they get and how they can retain players by having enough to meet the demands.
Kelly, I found this week I've talked to a couple of ADs and a couple of coaches, and it's interesting what they're doing with these teams. There's different systems they're using already with players, and like one team that's in the top 20 has an eight-man roster, and they take all their NIL money and try to get the best 8 guys they can get. And I said, well, what do you do after those 8 guys? And they said, well, the rest of the guys are getting like $25,000 a year and stuff. And I'm thinking, man, I was getting $15 a month when I played.
I'm saying $25,000 pretty good.
Yeah. So those guys are getting that kind of money, but you're not trying to build a team like Calipari does, where it looks like he's got 12 players he's paying. And so those teams are kind of tough. So they're working on the psychology of having 8 guys that you can play enough that they're getting playing time and they think they're improving and the team's improving. But to answer your question, I don't think they have the relationships. These portal guys come in late and leave early. I mean, I'm talking about in the season. They come in as the team's been put together, and then they leave afterwards to go somewhere else. I'm so sick of hearing broadcasts today. I heard somebody in the ACC tournament talk about so-and-so who had started here and went there and now he's here. I mean, I just wish they'd quit talking about that. I mean, that turns fans off, that you're not loyal. You're not, I mean, at least people my age, it turns off. But anyway, to answer your question, I don't think they have the relationships. I think the relationships are about the money and how much they're going to get and what can you do for me to get me to the pros. And if you're not going to get me the pros, then I'll go somewhere else. One guy said he had a guy that wants $1 million next year. And he said, I wouldn't pay him 50 cents. So I mean, that's not a close relationship if you've got a guy that thinks he's worth $1 million. And but anyway, those are funny stories. I've talked this week to guys just kind of popped up and Rick Barnes was talking about Abdullah or whatever. If he was still there, he said, we definitely had a chance to win the whole thing. And so it's a lot interesting stuff going on behind the scenes that we didn't used to have to deal with all this talk of leaving and going somewhere else and knowing you're going to be able to do that. And I asked another idea. I said, how's NCAA? Don't they realize it's killing the game? They said they don't care. They're at the top of the food chain. And if they put a rule in, they're going to lose in court. So they're just letting it go until, I said, well, I guess we're like the LIV and the PGA Tour. We'll have to get Donald J. Trump involved to get this thing straightened out. That's my answer. I'm sticking with it.
Kelly, you got one more?
I did well. It's a long question. I might save it to next week. Let's save it to next week because it'll be a long question.
Okay.
By the way, Jeff Goodman on Twitter reporting that Drake head coach Ben McCollum is one of the top targets for Indiana. So that could be interesting.
I think we can understand that.
I think we better look at Ole Miss first.
Yeah.
Chris Beard. Let's all at the same time. Okay. We'll open it up to the phones and your questions for the college basketball insiders at 615-553-0933. I'm going to try and take 3 or 4 phone calls pretty quickly. Billy, how else can they get in?
Chat room open on YouTube. We had one earlier. We got to get a few more in here. You can comment there. It's to the right of the screen if you're watching there on YouTube. You can also just swipe up on Twitter and Facebook, and we'd love to hear from you.
Okay, we'll go to the break on that, and you hit the phones. This is 94.9, The Fan.
As we step into the new year, there's nothing more important than family and safety. If a car wreck or big truck accident turns your world upside down, Bart Durham Injury Law is here to help. We're local, we're experienced, and we're ready to fight for what you deserve. Call us anytime at 615-242-9000. Really wishing you a safe and happy 2025 from Bart Durham Injury Law.
Attention college basketball fans. Kentucky and Gonzaga will square off Friday night, December the 5th at Bridgestone Arena, and you won't want to miss it. Tickets are on sale to the public at this very moment at BridgestoneArena.com and on the Ticketmaster app. It's 2 of the best programs in all of college basketball, and they're playing right in the heart of downtown Nashville. Act now. Tickets will be gone shortly, so you better act accordingly. This is my buddy Stan Harrison from Apple Collision Centers. Recently, you've been talking to me about companies that have a fleet of trucks and they're always in need of repairs.
That's right, George. We understand that nobody likes to deal with the auto body repair process. We try to simplify that at our 3 convenient locations. We work with all major insurance companies. We help to ease the stress of the auto body repair process. We're located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. If you need our services, please stop by and see us.
And how convenient that we have that in the background. Now, seriously, these are good folks. They do really good work. Give them a holler.
Where can you see a saber-toothed tiger rappel from the rafters? How about a catfish fly? The biggest stars in Music City. Not to mention hockey's hottest ticket. The Predators win! Only in Smashville. See your Nashville Predators all season long at Bridgestone Arena. Single game tickets are on sale now at NashvillePredators.com. Let's go, Preds!
If you are paying too much for your health insurance, you know what? You need to contact the folks at Pancoast Benefits. Pancoast works with businesses and individuals to tackle the high cost of health insurance. Whether you're a business owner, large or small, self-employed, between jobs, or over the age of 65 and in need of a Medicare plan, Pancoast can help. They make understanding your benefits less difficult and more personal. So check them out today. PancoastBenefits.com or call them at 615-292-3400. JB's Poorhouse in Hermitage has one of the best sports bar setups around, and it'll play host to the George Plaster Show on Thursday, March the 20th. That's the first full day of March Madness. Large TVs, great hoops, terrific food, and friendly service. It's what JB's Poorhouse is all about. See you on March 20th for a day full of what I call adult spring break.
the manager of the golf pro said, "Hey, Freddie, go get those kids out of there. Take the golf cart." So I'm thinking I'm going to take a shortcut. Man, I planted that thing right in the sand trap. I saw the wheels spinning in the back. I get back to the golf shop, and he goes, "Hey, Freddie, those kids out there?" I shrugged my shoulder. I go, He goes, "What does mean?" I said,
Check out more from Freddie and Harry weekdays at 3 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
A lot of people want to define teams by singular performances.
Sports. Did he not go back into the game after that interception?
Let's get this turned around. And we're all saying, no, they don't.
Here.
You thought you were on your way.
Your sports live here.
On ESPN 94.9.
And the Game Nashville Sports Network.
It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Okay, we are back, and we're going to take not only some text questions, but some phone calls for these guys. Ron Bargatze, Coach B, is that a Braves hat?
No, that would be the Antioch Bears.
Okay.
Kelly, and the Bears aren't what they used to be.
Well, if they don't get a book, neither will be the Braves. Okay, I mentioned earlier the Chris Beard to Indiana rumor, which has been out there for a month. Take it from there, Billy.
Ty says rumors are Indiana AD doesn't want Beard because of what happened at Texas. Granted, I don't know how valid those are, but that's what I've heard.
Lee, I guess that brings me to the Mitch Barnhart didn't want John Calipari, but got forced to hire him.
That's happened before, George. Boosters do have influence, let's put it that way. And trustees have more influence. And when you're a trustee and a booster, you really have some influence. And the hirings are, I went through 40 days hiring, and it's the craziest thing in the world that happens to you. I'll tell you the story sometime, George, about the hiring. And I had John Calipari hired and had to go to the booster club to get money. And as soon as the booster club board of trustees found out who I was hiring, they said he was another Herb Sendek, so they didn't want him. And so they started sending emails to him. We had his coat size and everything. He would have been our next coach, and he backed out. And that was before he went to Michigan. That was when he was at West Virginia. So yes, boosters do get involved, and the quieter you can keep things, the better it is, because crazy things happen in a search.
Lee, a year after he took them to the Final Four, Kevin Keats got fired last week at NC State. In the old days, that wouldn't have happened, would it?
You never know what's going on behind the scenes or what's going on with extensions or. So there may have been some bad blood between him and Boo, but I haven't talked to Boo about it. So I don't know, but it seemed a little strange. But you got to remember, George, last year he went in the tournament with no chance. He was going to be fired the year before.
Right.
He was 13 and 18, I think, and ended up winning 8 or 9 games in a row and getting the Final Four. So, and then after this year, they only won 5 or 6 conference games. I mean, it was kind of more of the same. And I'm sure boosters, knowing NC State, there were boosters involved that were wanting to get a change and he'd been there 8 years and he'd not done a consistently going up job, which doesn't always happen. I always love to tell the story. Krzyzewski was there 8 years and they were going to fire him, and Butters kept him, and the rest is history. So boosters don't always know the best.
Tony in Nolensville, say hello to the insiders.
Hello, insiders. It's always an honor each week to talk to such distinguished basketball men with the knowledge that y'all have. I want y'all to know that. I've got a question for each, and then a question that y'all can chime in together. You probably need to with that question. Question for Lee. all this talk, and I've heard y'all talk about it, all this talk that always surrounds Joe Lunardi, how great he is, and all this, and blah, blah, blah with Joe Lunardi. And it's been discussed on this show as well. And he does know his business. When y'all are in that war room, and everybody's talking about this, how many times, and be truthful, does Joe Lunardi's name come up where he has somebody, or so on and so forth? That's the question for you. And the question for Coach B is, with the 3 terrible losses down the stretch here with Vanderbilt, does that cool the jets on Mark Byington's name being thrown out there for some of these open vacancies? I've just talked about Indiana, but does his name get kind of cooled down now that these 3 losses have occurred the way they have down the stretch here? And then the question for both of y'all is, how many years total do we have on the George Plaster Show? How many total years of basketball knowledge between y'all two? I thought it was around 80. It might be more. I don't think I've ever sat and talked about how many years y'all been around the game and how much knowledge it is. George, thank you for taking the call. Everybody, have a good evening, and let's keep watching these games. Kelly, you have a good weekend, buddy. See ya.
Yes, sir. You too, man.
Coach B, let's start with Byington and obviously the Virginia rumor.
Well, first of all, no one has done a better job in this country than Mark Byington did. In early May, not a single player on his roster was there at that time. They had a phenomenal year considering the circumstances, and if I hope that nobody will get in his way of doing what he can do, because he's got a head start now. I think he's shown that he can build a roster. I think with a little extra time that he has now, that he'll build a great roster. So he's I think he's a phenomenal coach, great guy, and exactly what Vanderbilt needs, and needs to make sure they understand what kind of job he's done.
Lee, I love the Joe Lunardi question. What is the truth?
Well, Joe Lunardi was just getting started when I was doing that, and he was an ESPN guy they hired to do stats, and we were so he was not as much. The biggest deal back then was Dick Vitale. We counted up one year. We had the people at NCAA count up. We had 30. I think then we had 31 people or 33 at-large teams. Vitale had 83 teams, 50 more than what we had to put in. He said during the broadcast of all these conference games that they were in. So you know that's I think funny. Lunardi gets it pretty right because he's doing it statistically, and he'll miss 2 or 3 or 4 every year, but that's basically it. And of course, the farther down you go, he'll probably get them better than that. But he's made a great tradition out of that, out of putting it together, and he knows what the committees basically are going to do because he's seen it so many times. And I'm sure statistically he knows which teams will get in by what they do preseason, non-conference, and he meets with the NCAA a lot. I've seen him up there where he's meeting with the basketball committee and stuff and talking about this and that.
Billy, go with the last one.
Blue on Twitter, Vandy should be worried. If North Carolina beats Duke, they'll get in. That bid has to come from somewhere.
Yeah, but that's Vandy's 7 away if Lunardi is accurate. There's 7 teams below Vandy. Carolina alone isn't getting Vandy out. Are they, Lee?
Well, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure Lunardi's quite as good at picking 7 out or this or that. I mean, basically, he's good at getting the field.
Yeah.
The rest of the stuff he plays for fans to get excited about, and it's all ESPN pushing, trying to get everybody wanting to watch the games and stuff. So I would think Vanderbilt, if I was a Vanderbilt, and knowing what I've known in the past, is they could struggle. And the more teams like UNC that might get in by winning the league or this or that hurts everybody that's down there. And unfortunately, Vanderbilt losing the last 3 games and their non-conference schedule, I would think they'll be somewhere around the bubble. Now, it could be 7 away, it could be 2 away. So, there's no real way to know that because you don't know the 11 people in the room and how they're voting on different aspects of the teams.
Lee, I have a question for you.
All right, Ronnie, I'm ready.
As we're watching the Texas A&M game play out here, Texas still has a small lead going into the last 4 minutes. If Texas proves themselves to be more formidable than they were most of the year, does that help Vandy because of the 7-point loss they had to them yesterday?
Well, did not Texas beat them both times they played?
No. Vandy beat Texas at Memorial.
Okay. Did they play in Austin? They didn't play in Austin then.
No.
Okay. So that'd be a split. So I would think that wouldn't have a lot of influence on Vandy getting in or out. It's they go head to head pretty quickly if they've got 2 teams that are trying to get in or not get in.
Guys, got to run on this, but thank you both for great info today. Can't wait to talk to you next week.
Look forward to it, George. Thanks.
Coach B?
Waiting on my NIL check if I'm going to show up next week for this event.
Really? Negotiations.
You'll be waiting for a long time, big dog.
Yeah. Have your agent call mine.
I'll do that.
See ya. This is one NIL payment that likely will never get there. Billy, let's get to Plaster Bet of the Day and have a scoreboard, a March Madness scoreboard update on steroids ready.
Bart Durham Injury Law brings us Bet of the Day, brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. Said that twice. Well, duh. Here we go. We'll take a look at what happened last night.
I sucked.
3 losses
for 3. None of them all that close. Actually, Rutgers.
Come on,
fairly
Rutgers.
Close. Yeah. Okay.
Sure, son.
Yes. So we've got 3 tonight, Kelly, that I know you'll be interested in.
I'm sure
going
I will.
Mississippi State. Eye test that I saw last night on them. Yeah, Missouri is really good. By the way, that line's not accurate. That's 3.5. Mississippi State. Mississippi State plus 3.5. Neutral site at Bridgestone against Missouri. Item number 2. Yes, we're wearing royal blue. We're going big blue. I think Oklahoma, having already played a game, will hurt them tonight. Kentucky minus the points at Bridgestone. And finally, Arizona over Kansas. Why? I think Kansas is overrated.
Yes,
I don't think they play hard all the time.
They hadn't had the kind of year that people think of the Jayhawks. That's for sure.
Billy, we need a March Madness scoreboard update on steroids.
Here we go. We got some finals from today. All kind of action going on. We get started in the Mountain West. New Mexico gets a win over San Jose State, 63-52. North Carolina over Wake Forest in the ACC, 68-59. St. Louis takes down Davidson, 83-75 in the A10. Ole Miss over Arkansas in Game 1 of the SEC tournament, 83-80. Sean Padula, game winner as the Rebels advance to face Auburn tomorrow. Also, Xavier loses to Marquette, 89-87 in the Big East. Oregon over Indiana, 72-59. Wisconsin takes down Northwestern in the Big Ten, 70-63 in the Big 12. BYU over Iowa State, 96-92. St. John's beats Butler, 78-57. Duke over Georgia Tech, 78-70 in the Big 12. Houston beats Colorado, 77-68. As the guys mentioned, Texas and Texas A&M going on right now. Just under 3 minutes to play. The Longhorns lead the Aggies 67-66.
Wow. They hate each other.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. How about the games today? Ole Miss with the game winner. Texas looking like they still got a lot of work to do, but it'd be a huge win for them.
Be interesting to see if they can play at 6 o'clock, because this game, if this were to go to OT, it ain't happening. Yesterday, kudos to a lot of the staff out here, which helped clean up the arena between the afternoon and the nighttime sessions. Kelly, you will not be with us tomorrow.
I will not. I know that Billy's happy about that.
If you're lucky, you'll be back on Monday.
Lord willing.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Listen, more of the same tomorrow. Great show today. We covered a lot of stuff. For the entire gang, George Plaster saying, see you tomorrow. Enjoy the hoops.